At 5:40 in the morning, 3 small backpacks were lined up on my porch, like evidence. My sister's kids were sitting on the welcome mat in pajamas and winter coats, their breath fogging in the dark, while my mother's taillights disappeared around the corner. Then my phone buzzed with her text. "Your shift can wait. Natalie has an emergency. Don't be selfish today." My name is Mara Ellison. I'm 33 years old. That was the morning my family tried to make me choose between the first hospital job I had fought years to earn and the unpaid role they had quietly assigned me since my sister became a mother. I stood there in my scrubs, badge clipped to my collar, lunch bag in one hand, car keys in the other. My first shift as a patient care coordinator at Whitmore Regional started at 6:30. Not orientation, not paperwork. My first real floor shift. And on my porch were Oliver, 6, Mia, 4, and Ben, 2, all looking up at me like this was normal because, to them, it was. Oliver held out a folded note. "Grandma said you'd make pancakes." I didn't open the note right away. I already knew what it would say. My mother, Linda Ellison, had a talent for making commands look like favors. I called her. She answered on the second ring, calm as bathwater. "Mom, you need to come back." "I can't. Natalie's overwhelmed." "I have work." "You have training." "No," I said, keeping my voice low because Mia was watching me. "I have a shift at a hospital in 40 minutes. There was a pause, but not the kind where someone rethinks what they've done. It was the pause my mother used before she decided which version of guilt would hurt most. "Mara, those children love you. Don't punish them because you want to play career woman." That line hit harder than the cold, because nobody in my family had called Natalie's boutique candle business playing entrepreneur when I spent 6 weekends labeling jars in her garage. Nobody called my brother-in-law Derek unreliable when he forgot pickups, birthdays, and rent twice in 1 year. But me, one boundary, and suddenly I was selfish. I called the hospital while pouring cereal into 3 plastic bowls with cartoon ducks on them. My hands were shaking so badly milk splashed across the counter. The charge nurse, Angela Morris, answered. I explained quickly. "Kids on my porch. No warning. Trying to arrange help. I could still make it if my mother came back." Her voice changed before I finished. "Mara, HR flagged a concern this morning." I froze. "What concern?" She lowered her voice. "Someone called before 5 and said you had a pattern of last-minute family issues. They wanted us to be prepared in case you didn't show." The kitchen went silent except for Ben tapping his spoon against the bowl. Before 5, before my mother left the kids on my porch, before I even knew there was a problem. I looked down at her folded note on the counter, damp now from the spilled milk, and opened it. In my mother's neat church lady handwriting, it said, "Call your supervisor and tell them you had a family emergency. They'll understand if they're decent people." That was when I understood this wasn't panic. It was a plan. And the cruelest part was how ordinary it felt. Like every Thanksgiving where Natalie arrived late and I cooked. Every Christmas morning where my parents praised her for doing her best while I washed dishes in my good sweater. Every time I was told, "You're just better with responsibility," as if that made stealing my time sound like a compliment. By 7:05, I was officially late. By 8:20, my mother stopped answering. By 10:15, Natalie texted me a selfie from a nail salon chair with the words, "You're a lifesaver, sis." At noon, HR called. Not Angela, not my supervisor. Human resources. A woman named Denise Calder asked if I could explain why multiple people had described me as chronically unreliable due to family obligations. Multiple people. I sat at my grandmother's old dining table while the kids watched cartoons in the next room, and I stared at the blue cloth logbook Grandma Ruth had kept during the last 9 months of her life. Every appointment, every medication, every visitor, every missed promise, and every page my mother had forgotten existed. I didn't answer Denise right away, because if I opened my mouth, I was going to cry, and I refused to let my first official conversation with HR become proof of the story my family had planted. So I said, "May I send you documentation?" Denise paused. Documentation of what? My actual family obligation history. Another pause. Then carefully, "You may send anything you believe is relevant." I took photos of Grandma Ruth's logbook with my phone, page by page, but my hand stopped at page 17. That page had always bothered me. Grandma had lived with my parents after her stroke. At least, that was what everyone at church believed. "Linda is so devoted," people would say, patting my mother's arm while Mom lowered her eyes like a saint in a pharmacy cardigan. But the logbook told the truth. Monday, Mara arrived 5:50 a.m. Bathing, breakfast, meds. Tuesday, Mara called pharmacy. Linda canceled visit. Wednesday, Mara changed bedding. Natalie, no-show. Thursday, Mara stayed overnight. Derek forgot groceries. Friday, Mara took Ruth to cardiology. Linda at brunch. It went on like that for months. I hadn't kept the log. Grandma had. Her handwriting was shaky but stubborn, slanted letters marching across the lines. Except page 17. Page 17 was not Grandma's handwriting. It was my mother's. I had noticed it after the funeral, but never understood why Mom had written in the book. That day, sitting there with cartoons blaring in the next room and my career bleeding out before it even began, I finally read it slowly. Ruth confused today. Claims Mara handles care. Corrected her. Reminded her Linda manages household and appointments. Mara helps occasionally, but exaggerates. Under that, in Grandma's faint pencil, squeezed into the margin, "Linda wrote this. Not true." My chest went cold. I photographed page 17 twice and sent the entire file to Denise with one sentence. "This may clarify the reliability pattern being described." 10 minutes passed, then 20. At 12:43, Denise called back. Her voice was different now. Not warmer exactly, sharper. "Mara, who wrote page 17? I swallowed. The main entry is my mother. The note in the margin is my grandmother. Was your grandmother cognitively impaired? No, she had expressive aphasia after her stroke. Speech was difficult. Her memory was fine. Denise exhaled softly. And this logbook covers 9 months? Yes. Are there witnesses to any of this? I laughed once without humor. Her visiting nurse, her cardiologist's office, the pharmacy, probably half the neighbors. Then Denise asked the question that changed everything. Would your mother have had reason to contact Whitmore Regional before your shift? I looked toward the living room. Oliver was helping Mia zip her coat for a pretend camping trip. Ben was asleep against a couch cushion, thumb in his mouth. Yes, I said. She wanted me to miss work. Why? Because if I get stable employment with hospital benefits and scheduled hours, I stop being available. There it was, the truth, plain and ugly. Denise told me not to come in that day, not because I was fired, because she wanted a formal review before any action was taken. Then she added, "Do not delete any messages." After we hung up, I opened my mother's texts. Years of them. "Need you here by 7. Natalie's tired. Don't make this about you. Family helps family. Your plans are flexible." Flexible. That was the word they used for things they intended to break. At 3:12, my mother finally returned, carrying a latte and wearing the irritated expression of someone inconvenienced by consequences she hadn't expected yet. "See?" she said, stepping inside. "Everything worked out." I stood between her and the children. "No," I said. "It didn't." She rolled her eyes. "Don't start drama." Behind her, Natalie pulled into my driveway, fresh manicure flashing on the steering wheel. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt ready. Natalie came in smiling until she saw my face. Then she stopped beside Mom and said, "What?" That one word contained our entire childhood. What now, Mara? What are you making difficult? What are you refusing to absorb? I picked up the 3 backpacks and set them by the door. The kids are ready. Mom's eyebrows lifted. You fed them cereal? Yes. No pancakes? Oliver looked embarrassed, like he had failed some secret test. I crouched and hugged all three of them. You did nothing wrong. I love you. I'll see you when your mom asks me properly and I say yes. Natalie scoffed. They don't need a speech. No, I said, standing. You do. Mom's latte cup creaked in her hand. I held up my phone. I know someone called my hospital before 5 this morning. Natalie's eyes flicked to Mom. There it was. Small, fast, enough. Mom recovered first. I warned them you might be late because you're dramatic under pressure. You told HR I had a pattern. I told them the truth. The truth? My voice finally rose. The truth is you dumped 3 children on my porch in the dark and drove away. Natalie crossed her arms. I had an emergency. You were at a nail salon. Her mouth opened, then closed. Mom stepped forward. I asked your sister to send that so you'd know she was all right. I almost laughed. They were so used to editing reality in real time they didn't even hear themselves. I sent HR Grandma's logbook. The room changed. Natalie frowned. What logbook? But Mom knew. Her face emptied so fast it was like someone had pulled a plug. You had no right, she whispered. No right to what? Grandma's record of who actually cared for her? Mom looked toward the kids, then back at me. Not in front of them. Funny. You didn't mind using them in front of me. Natalie grabbed the backpacks. Come on, guys. Oliver hesitated. Aunt Mara, are you in trouble? I knelt again. No, buddy, the grown-ups are. When the door shut behind them, Mom stayed. Her voice dropped into the tone I had feared since I was 10 years old. You think a job will choose you over family? No, I said. I think I'm choosing me. She stared at me like I had spoken a foreign language. Then my phone rang. Denise. I answered on speaker because my hand was shaking and because suddenly I wanted a witness. Mara, Denise said, we completed our preliminary review. The call came from a number belonging to Linda Ellison. Mom went white. Denise continued, the caller identified herself as a concerned family member and claimed you had agreed to remain available for childcare but would likely fabricate an excuse. We also received an email from Natalie Price. Natalie. My sister had married into a new last name but kept the same habits. Denise said, we will not be treating your absence as misconduct. We are documenting third-party interference. My mother whispered, hang up. I didn't. Denise's voice sharpened. Miss Ellison, if you are present, you should know Whitmore Regional takes employee harassment seriously. Any further contact from you or your family regarding Mara's employment will be referred to legal. Mom backed toward the door. After the call ended, she pointed at me with a trembling finger. You have humiliated this family. No, I said. I stopped hiding what you did. For 1 second, I saw panic break through her anger. Then she said the thing that proved I had finally hit the center. Your grandmother wanted us united. I picked up the logbook from the table and opened to page 17. No, I said. Grandma wanted the truth written down. My mother left without another word, which frightened me more than yelling. Silence meant she was regrouping. By 6 that evening, my phone proved it. Dad called first. I hadn't heard my father angry often. He outsourced anger to Mom and called it keeping peace. But that night his voice came through hard and flat. Your mother is crying. I'm not available for that. She could lose her standing at church over this. Then she shouldn't have lied where people could check. He sighed, exhausted by my inconvenience. Mara, you know how Linda gets when she's worried. She left toddlers outside in winter. For a few minutes. 43 minutes, Dad. I have a doorbell camera. That shut him up. Then he said, quieter, delete it. There it was again. The family motto dressed as advice. Delete it. Smooth it over. Don't make Natalie feel bad. Don't upset your mother. Don't tell Grandma the nurse called twice while Linda was at lunch. No, Mara, no. At 7:18, Natalie texted, You've made Mom physically sick. Hope your fancy hospital friends are worth it. At 7:22, the kids asked why you hate us. At 7:25, if CPS hears about this, it's on you. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Denise. Then I emailed the doorbell footage too. At 8:03, Denise replied, "Received. Please do not engage further tonight." So I didn't. Instead, I opened Grandma's logbook again. The last page had a note I had avoided since the funeral because grief has sharp corners. Grandma had written it 2 weeks before she died. Mara thinks love means staying useful. I taught her wrong by needing her too much. Tell her, being kind is not the same as being owned. I pressed my hand over my mouth and cried so hard I couldn't breathe. The next morning, Whitmore called me in, not to work, but to meet. Denise was there with Angela and my department manager, Mr. Keene. I walked into that conference room expecting polite skepticism. Instead, Angela stood and said, "I'm sorry." 2 words, simple, impossible from my family. Mr. Keene folded his hands. "Your start date will be adjusted. No penalty. We also want to discuss a safety plan regarding contact from relatives." A safety plan. For my mother. I almost laughed, then almost cried again. Denise slid a printed page toward me. "One more thing. We compared the call summary with the email. Your sister claimed you were already scheduled to babysit today." I wasn't. "We know." She attached a screenshot. My stomach dropped. It was a text conversation, my name at the top, my contact photo, messages agreeing to take the kids from 5:30 a.m. until dinner. Only I hadn't written them. I stared at the fake screenshot, at the words they had put in my mouth. Angela's voice was careful. "Mara, do you recognize this?" I looked closer. Then I saw it. The bubble at the bottom showed a tiny sliver of the keyboard. Not mine. Natalie used a glittery pink phone theme I'd teased her about for years. I looked up. That screenshot was fabricated on my sister's phone. Denise nodded slowly. "That is what IT suspected." Mr. Keene's expression hardened. "This has moved beyond family conflict." My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Mom. "Come home tonight. We need to discuss what you owe us." For the first time, I didn't feel pulled. I felt the door closing. I read Mom's text twice. What you owe us. Not what they'd done. Not whether the kids were okay. Not whether I still had a job. What I owed. I turned my phone toward Denise. She didn't touch it. She just said, "May we document that?" Yes. By the end of that week, Whitmore Regional had blocked my mother's number from contacting my department. Natalie's email was flagged. HR wrote a formal memo stating my absence had been caused by documented third-party interference, not misconduct. I started my first real shift the following Monday. Angela met me at the nurse's station with a coffee and said, "Fresh start?" I looked at my badge, at my name under the hospital logo, and for once, I didn't feel like I had stolen time from someone else to be there. "Yes," I said. "Fresh start." My family didn't give up immediately. Dad left voicemails about forgiveness. Natalie sent photos of the kids with captions like, "They miss who you used to be." Mom mailed me a handwritten letter that began, "A daughter's duty." I returned it unopened. Then the doorbell footage got around. Not because I posted it, but because Natalie threatened me with CPS in writing, and my attorney advised one clean, factual response to anyone she contacted. The church ladies stopped praising Mom's devotion quite so loudly after Grandma's logbook was mentioned. Natalie's friends stopped offering sympathy when they saw the fake screenshot. Dad, for the first time in his life, had to answer questions Mom couldn't polish for him. I didn't enjoy any of it. That surprised me. I thought justice would feel like triumph. Mostly, it felt like setting down a suitcase I had carried so long, my shoulder didn't know how to unclench. 6 months later, I had my own apartment 10 minutes from the hospital, with no spare key hidden under a flower pot and no one dropping children on my porch before sunrise. I still saw Oliver, Mia, and Ben sometimes, but only through arrangements made in writing, days in advance. The first time Natalie asked instead of assumed, I almost didn't recognize the sentence. "Are you available Saturday?" I wasn't, so I said no, and the world did not end. On Grandma Ruth's birthday, I took her, Logbook, to the little bench by the river where she used to feed ducks and complain that geese had criminal eyes. I opened to the last page, the one about kindness and being owned, and tucked a pressed violet between the lines. The sun was coming up, gold spilling over the water, bright as a hospital hallway at the start of a shift. For once, nobody was waiting on my porch. Nobody was calling me selfish. Nobody was telling me my life could wait. I sat there in my clean scrubs, holding Grandma's truth in my lap, and finally felt the difference between being needed and being free. If you've ever been called unreliable by the people who relied on you most, tell me in the comments. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place. And if you want more stories like this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.